I wanted to take a minute and share with you how wonderful and transformative a creative practice can be. And it doesn't really matter what the practice is, but when you get yourself into something creative, whether for me it was quilting, quilting was the thing that I was finally good enough at the beginning that I could bear to practice enough to get better. So I had spent my whole life as a quitter, trying stuff and not being a virtuoso right off the bat, just quitting, right? I had a very fixed mindset as a younger person. And as I have gotten older and embraced that it's my responsibility to become the very best version of myself that's possible, I let myself open up to being a beginner. And so I like to experiment with all different types of creativity. And I feel like our entire purpose here, and I in my perspective, it's a divine purpose, is to follow our own personal creative urges. And part of what is so distracting about the world is that they're trying to push you to follow their creative agenda and rather than tap into your own intuitive creative agenda. But anyway, so beyond just being able to help you tap into who you really are, any creative practice, whatever you are urged to try and can stand what you do at the beginning, because the beginning is the very hardest, especially for those of us that are kind of type A personalities, super detail oriented and want to be perfect off the bat. Well, you know what? Just grow up. You're not going to be most of the time. Most of the time it's hard. Most of the time it looks terrible at the beginning. But if you can get past that, that's your thing. Tap into that, and that will open up for you a deeper knowledge of yourself, which is like the most powerful thing we can do to transform the world, is to know who we are really and then express that through our creativity. So many years ago, as you know, I started this random acts of artwork movement with my daughter Delaney. And after she passed away in the landslide in 2014, I continued on with it. And as a result of that landslide, I met my friend Roxanne, who was giving massages to volunteers that were out in the mud looking for, bodies and stuff. And so I met her shortly after the landslide, so 10 years ago. And she's a very deep, spiritually knowledgeable, wise woman. Wise, so wise. And she spent about a year and a half treating me like weekly um, after the landslide with her myofascial release technique. And it was one of the things that not only kept me alive, but kept me alive and wanting to live, right? Wasn't just the massage. She spent time every week just listening to me, and that was so incredibly valuable. In that process, Roxanne was not a quilter when I met her, right? She didn't even know what a long arm was. Well, I made her a quilt out of, because I was so grateful for the work she had given to me and the love she'd extended to me and everyone else that was involved in that. So I made her this big quilt, which was a Bonnie Hunter quilt. It was at the time like the most epic thing I had ever made, and it was huge. And then a couple years later, she reaches out to me. Like, we didn't talk a lot. I moved off wherever I was, Houston, on the bus, whatever. We didn't talk a lot. Oh, I had given her this random act of artwork. They started out as artist trading cards, if you recall. Anyway, that was 2016. I am here in Troy, Montana, where Roxanne now lives, and staying in her guest room. This random act of artwork that I had given her so many years ago was on the mirror. And that just led me to thinking about how being creative not only helps you understand who you really are, but it opens up opportunities to meet other people that know who they really are, which expands your world in a joyful way that I cannot even recommend enough. And these relationships that you meet through your creative endeavors and sharing that connection with others, kind of, at least for me, have become the way the pieces of my life fit together. That's the connections, right? And it's such a deep and profound, wonderful way to vet the people around you or that you invest your attention in, because you pay attention. Your attention is your most valuable resource. It's more important than money. Your attention is the key to everything, your health, your wealth, your well being. And so you have to be very concise about what you are willing to pay attention to, okay? And that's my message for today. Get creative. I'm going to quilt a quilt, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thanks for